Hi everybody, this is Ashley with Ashley Says So, and I am back with another old Hollywood scandals video. Go ahead and click like, subscribe, and share because you know you're going to love this video because it's about the legendary Mr. Marvin Gaye, and what a story it is, y'all. Like, for real. Come on, let's get to it. Marvin Pence Gaye Jr. was born April the 2nd, 1939 in Washington, D.C. His dad was Minister Marvin Gaye Sr. and his mother was domestic worker Alberta Gaye. Marvin was the second oldest of 4 children. He had 2 sisters, Jean and Zeola Gaye, and 1 brother, Frankie Gaye. He also had 2 half-brothers, Michael Cooper, his mother's son from a previous relationship, and Antoine Carey Gaye, a child that was born not when his dad was in a previous relationship, but while he was married to Alberta. His tail had an affair and had an outside child. Marvin started singing at a very early age, around 4 years old, and while he was singing, his dad would play the piano. And they went to a strict Pentecostal church called House of God, and this church followed the Old Testament as well as the New Testament to a T, and you were not allowed to break any of the rules. Because of this church, well, you know what, let's be honest, really it's not because of the church. It's because his father used the church as a cover. But because he used the church as a cover, his father was very, very strict on his children. He did not allow any leeway, and he constantly stayed on them for even the most minor things. He dished out very brutal beatings, and Marvin said that living with his dad is like living with a king, you know, an all-powerful king that changes at will, but is always cruel. But out of all of the beatings that their father dished out, the other siblings made it clear that he focused mostly on Marvin. He got the most beatings and the most severe beatings out of all of them. And it became terrible as he entered his teenage years. But that was because Marvin was becoming acutely aware that something was not right with his father. You see, Marvin Sr. was preaching to his family about what's right and what's wrong and staying on the right path all the time, but in his spare time, he was dressing up as a lady. And I mean, he would have the wigs on, he would have the dresses on, he would have nylon stockings on, and some people even said that he went as far as to put on women's lingerie. And once Marvin did become old enough to know that, hey, wait a minute, something don't seem right about this, he did not necessarily say like, okay, daddy, I don't agree with what you're doing, but they said it was his behavior and his looks and his actions that let his dad know that what you're doing is not right. It's hypocritical. You are living contradictory to what you are preaching to us. And even if Marvin Jr. did not open up his mouth to say a word about this, Marvin Sr. could just tell that his son thought of him this way, and it made him angry and very uncomfortable. Some would go as far as to say he hated his son because of this, but I don't necessarily think that he hated Marvin. I think that he hated his shame, his own shame. That's what I think he hated. Let's put it like this. Marvin Sr. was already feeling like, okay, I'm too shamed to go outside. It's not like I can go out there and live my truth for fear of being judged, but I am able to do it in my own home. And I have made it so that I have an iron fist that nobody has ever questioned me. Not my wife, not my daughters, not anybody until you came along. And here you are looking at me all judgmental and acting like you disapprove of what I'm doing, and this is making me very uncomfortable. And I'm upset about it because you're making me see myself. You're making me question whether I'm doing is right or wrong, and I don't want to see that. I'm ashamed of that. So instead, I'm going to project my shame onto you, and I'm going to beat you for it. That is what was going on with Marvin Sr. At least at this point, that was the only matter. Now, while Marvin Sr. was busy abusing his son, his mother Alberta was busy coddling him. She was always a shoulder to lean on. She was always somebody that would comfort him and make him feel protected. And this made his father even more angry because what he saw was something different. What he saw was something perverted because he had a very perverted mind, and he felt like his wife was showing his son a little bit too much attention. Your mama is a woman. You don't need to be all up under her like that. You are male, she's a female. But it is said that he's not the only one that felt this way though. People didn't necessarily think that they were actually doing anything physical, but just their closeness emotionally and mentally was just a little bit too close for some people's liking. But as much as people were uncomfortable and disliked this, it was actually really, really needed, because Marvin Gaye said later on in life that he would have committed suicide if his mother had not been there to comfort him through these trying times. Anyway, Marvin started taking his singing more and more seriously, and in junior high school, he joined the Randall Junior High School Glee Club. And he did very well at that Glee Club. And then when he got to actual high school, he really came into himself. You know, his voice matured. He started looking very handsome. He started getting attention from other people. And his dad himself recognized that Marvin was the smoothest, most talented, possibly most handsome out of his sons, maybe even all of his children. And he became extremely jealous of his son. He started kicking him out of the house for every little thing, starting an argument, still was beating on him. I mean, he really became a target of this man's rage and abuse. Because see, now it was a culmination of things. See, now I feel like you're judging me and thinking negatively of me because I like to cross-dress. And then you got the nerve to have some talent and be handsome and can sing? Like, you got the nerve to let me know that all this time I've been abusing you, I haven't broken your spirit? Are you serious? And yes, Marvin was serious. His daddy had to face that he had failed. Everything that you were doing, it did not break my spirit. As a matter of fact, I became more popular than ever. So what's next, daddy? And that's when his daddy started to do little snide stuff like put him down. Man, you just weak, ain't you? You just ain't good at nothing, is your boy? That singing and carrying on, first of all, you ain't that good at it. Second of all, we live in a religious household. We abide by the house of God. You ain't finna be doing all that secular singing and doo-wopping stuff up in here, and you ain't gonna make nothing of yourself, so I don't know why you wasting your time. You actually can listen yourself to his dad slick put him down. In the video link that I put in the description, while they're doing the interview, they say something about when Marvin tried to try out for the football, the pro league or whatever, and his dad says something like, man, you just ain't built like that. These bigger guys will run over you, and it just wouldn't be no good. Like he's under the pretext of him caring for his son. Like, I just didn't want to see my boy go out there and get hurt, man. That really bothered me. And when he saying that, if you look at Marvin's reaction and look at his facial expressions, he recognizes this as one of the many put downs his dad has always done to him. And then sitting up there wearing a wig, y'all. Marvin was so embarrassed by his doggone daddy. His daddy was sitting up there wearing a wig. His mannerisms were like a female. So I'm sure it was embarrassing for Marvin. And you can kind of see it all in his face. Go click on it when y'all get a chance. So Marvin is in school. He's in high school. Things are going pretty good. But then the kids find out that his father is a cross-dresser. Not all, but some. Marvin becomes so embarrassed, and this is around the time when he started to add the E to his name, because first of all, people were calling him gay because they thought his father was gay. So Marvin Gaye? So Marvin became completely disillusioned with his dad, with school, with everything. He just wanted to get away. So he dropped out of school and he joined the military. I believe this was a self-destructive choice, and you're gonna see why later on in this video. But I do believe this was one of the very first recorded self-destructive choices that Marvin had. Anyways, he gets to the military and he finds out that, he ain't seeing no action. He ain't out there in combat. He barely even sees a gun for real. They have him doing little small tasks like washing up the bathrooms or something like that. So he feigned mental illness and they discharged him. After leaving the military, Marvin came back home and he started a group called the Marquis, and I believe he started this group with a cousin. I do know that singing with this group afforded him the opportunity to meet Harvey Fuqua, who sang with the Moonglows and also who had ties to Motown. And to get his foot inside of the door at Motown, which of course was called Tamla Records at the time, he started to hang around wanting to get his name out there. He was doing busy work, and he was working a lot alongside David Ruffin at the same time. And then he learned of Anna Records and of course Anna Gordy herself, and he started pushing up on her, flirting with her, flattering her, and even though she was 17 years older than him, she liked what she saw. And from what one of the many stories that are out there says is that she put in a word with her sister Gwen Gordy, who at this time was dating a guy named Billy Davis, but she was cheating on Billy Davis with Harvey Fuqua. So Anna told Gwen, hey, tell Harvey that I think his little friend cute. You know that guy Marvin Gaye? I like him. And so Gwen tells Harvey and Harvey tells Marvin. And so he and Anna soon started dating and then they get married. And even though Anna Gordy was not unattractive, I don't think anybody around seriously thought that this young guy thought that this older lady was like super attractive or super beautiful. She is Barry's sister. She's the boss's sister. What greater connection can you have? So I think a lot of people knew that, but it didn't faze Marvin or Anna, and everything was good. So of course, Marvin is signed to Motown, and he puts out some albums early on, and they did okay, but they were not classics. Like, you cannot think in your mind and just remember what those first records were. But one of them did do well enough to reach number 8 on the charts. It just was not like his memorable music that he put out later on in life. And the reason this music did not do so well is because, we got another one, folks. Just like Ray Charles, Marvin Gaye was trying to be Nat King Cole. That is who he aspired to be like, and that is who Berry Gordy wanted to model him after. But after a while, when his music was not doing so well, Marvin realized that this was a mistake. This was a bad idea. He wanted to be more of himself and break out of that character and have more creative control. But Berry would not allow that. Berry was like, no, you need to continue being like Nat King Cole. And then a little bit later on, when Marvin started putting out successful music with Tammy Terrell, Ain't No Mountain High Enough, You're All I Need to Get By, all of this good stuff, Berry was sure enough like, no, you need to stay this suave, debonair young man and keep it like this. Do not divert from the formula. And this made Marvin angry because he felt like Berry was not really tapping into all of his talent. And while he was getting frustrated with the direction of his music, there was even more frustration in his home. Marvin turned out not to be the lover that Anna Gordy thought that she was getting. He was not a man's man like she wanted. He was more meek. And he also was not full of vigor and virility like she thought she was going to get with a guy 17 years her junior. Like she thought that he was about to come with some serious firepower. But turns out he was very mild-mannered, like he was not about to be swinging from anybody's bedpost. And that is what she expected. So with her being unhappy with this, she started to take lovers. And the thing is, plenty of people cheat, but the way Anna Gordy Gaye went about this was very disrespectful. Like, she didn't care. She didn't mind if her lovers got out. People were whispering all over town about how she was cheating on Marvin, and she did not care. And Marvin was just a little bit too mild-mannered to really call her out on it. And she also used to fight him all the time, like beat on him. Now, even though Marvin would hardly make a fuss and he would just take this, it is said that sometime, every once in a while, that he would actually blow up. Like, and they would be arguing back and forth and they would be fighting each other. Like, and they said on those blow up periods, when he finally blow up, like, all shucks, like all hell about to break loose because Marvin is mad. But that was very rare and very far and few between. And now we're about to get into a little bit of scandalous tea, honey. So for the first half of 1965, Anna Gordy Gaye is walking around with a belly. She is pregnant. She has cravings everywhere. She's eating everything. She's super excited and telling everybody that she knows that she is pregnant. And then on November the 17th, 1965, a baby boy is born to Denise Gordy, 16 years old. Come to find out, Anna Gordy Gaye wasn't even pregnant, just lying. What she was doing was trying to prepare the public for her to get a baby because she and Marvin adopted Denise's child. And if you think that's scandalous, it gets a little more scandalous than that. Now see, people say that that's actually Marvin's child. That's just not Anna's child. It's said that Anna could not have children and she wanted children. And she was okay with Marvin sleeping with young Denise. And they created that child and she and Marvin adopted that child. That child is named Marvin Gaye III. And this is so weird to me, not only because they're faking pregnancies and they're taking babies on, but their relationship is not at a real good point at this time. She is out there cheating profusely on Marvin, doing what she wants to do. So all of a sudden y'all think a baby is gonna make it right? To me, it makes more sense that Denise got pregnant by somebody else mistakenly, and they did not want to abort the baby. So Anna was like, you know, we'll take it. Me and Marvin will take it. That makes more sense than Anna planning a pregnancy for her husband to sleep with another woman in her family, or the rumor that Marvin and Denise were just messing around on their own accord and Anna had nothing to do with it and Denise got pregnant. Like, I don't really believe that. But whatever the case, the fact that their relationship is already shaky and they just want to add a baby to the mix, like that's gonna fix everything. What? And with all this commotion and mess going on with his music career, with Anna, with this baby, with everything, Marvin is just kind of feeling like, oh my God, like this is too much going on. And he starts to kind of rap into himself. But then he finds comfort and he finds an outlet with Tammy Terrell. Now, he and Tammy were thick as thieves, and they often relished each other's company, always with each other. Some people like to say that they had an intimate relationship, but I just don't believe this. I believe they could have and probably would have, but I think their timing was wrong. Like, they had ties to different people, Marvin to Anna, and then Tammy to the different relationships that she had. So I think maybe if the timing was good, but you know, some people feel like they messed around anyway, like they cheated with each other. I just can't believe this. But they did truly love each other. And the reason he loved Tammy so much is because he could hold a real relationship with her. It did not have to be superficial. It did not have to be artificial, like the relationships he had with other people where he could not show his true self. He could show a truer form, not the truest form of himself now. We're going to get into that a little later. But he could reveal a truer form of himself or a truer self to Tammy Terrell because she made him feel just that comfortable, and they shared that type of relationship. And when in October 1967, Tammy collapsed in Marvin's arms during a performance, he was broken, and he was hurt even more when they found out she had a malignant tumor in her brain. And when this happened with Tammy, Marvin just could not fake the floodgates anymore. Like, they just opened up, and all of those emotions and all of those past feelings that he had put away just came flooding out, and he went into a very, very deep depression. And now he's just thinking back to everything that he's been through, especially the stuff with his father. Even while depressed, though, he was still recording, and it was this time in 1969 that he had his first hit record, and that was, ooh, I bet you wonder how I knew. What, y'all thought I wasn't gonna sing? About your plans to make me blue with some other guy you knew before. I'm sorry, y'all, I just need to sing one more part. It took me by surprise, I must say, when I found out yesterday. But even though this song was a success and hit #1, like I said before, Marvin was still unhappy. He felt like he didn't achieve this success. He felt like it wasn't meant for him. First of all, he said that song wasn't even written for him. That was for Gladys Knight and the Pips, so it wasn't his. And then he did not feel like he could be himself. He did not have any creative control, so he felt like a puppet. He felt like Anna's puppet, and he felt like Barry's puppet. It's just the man was so sensitive and so like intuitive, and it really seems like he should have been a Pisces or at least a water sign, but he was an Aries and a fire sign. Anyway, the song did nothing to lift him out of his depression. And now he was worried about his marriage. He was worried about Tammy. He was worried about his father. He became despondent. So he shut himself up in a hotel room, and he was about to commit suicide. And according to rumor, with his hand on the gun, he entered the door to his room when he heard the knock. And what do you know? It was Pops Gordy coming to save the day. And he talked Marvin out of this and let him know that, son, you have so much more to live for. Put that gun down. Even if that talk with Pops did lift his spirit and make him feel better, it all came crumbling down. On March the 16th, 1970, Tammy Terrell passed away from brain cancer. Marvin was ripped apart. He blamed himself for her death. He blamed David Ruffin for her death. He felt like David beating on her caused her death. He felt like him not really being there for her caused her death. Like, he was just trying to blame anybody. He was heartbroken. But eventually he managed to pull himself together, and although he never got over the death, he did manage to move on with his life. It was now 1970, and music-wise, Marvin Gaye was at a standstill. Bowie wanted to keep him as a goody two-shoes feel-good singer, but Marvin wanted to release more meaningful music. He truly wanted his music to reflect with the times, you know, all of that race stuff going on, the riots, all of that good stuff. He wanted his music to reflect this, to show that he was knowledgeable, he was woke to his surroundings. But once again, Bowie kept telling him no, and then he just bumped heads with Motown, period. And that is when he just threw his hands up and quit music. Just quit the whole thing. Motown. He stopped everything and decided to try out for pro football. The team that he wanted to try out for was the Detroit Lions, but them folks told him, like, Marvin, come on in the room. Now, we want you to take you and this stupid idea, and we want you to go home and really put your head down and sit and think about what you're saying. Them folks basically told him to get lost. They said, thank you, but no thank you. We don't even want you to try out, because they were scared he was going to be a legal liability, and rightfully so. Marvin was not built for those men out there, and this is the same thing I'm talking about when his dad did that interview, but I'm not trying to say it in a malicious way. I'm just speaking the truth. Those guys would have ran Marvin over and basically had him bent up like a pretzel. And he was upset, and he was like, come on, let me play. And the team was like, get out of our face. Like, no, you're thinking and acting emotionally, and we're thinking and acting logically. And I'm sure nobody actually said that to him, but that is the truth. That is what was happening. Thank God they responded logically, because this is one of those self-destructive moves. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, Marvin gets depressed, he gets down, and he goes and makes a self-destructive choice. He knew that his body was going to get mangled out there on that football field, and that's what he wanted. Some type of punishment for himself. And thankfully, they saved him from that and said no. But one of the next times he tried to be self-destructive, sadly, nobody will be there to put a stop to it. So anyway, after the whole Detroit Lions debacle, Marvin was just like, screw Bowie. I'm about to write my feelings. Like, I'm gonna write my song. And that is when he recorded What's Going On. And then he puffed up his chest with all his courage and might, and he took the song and he let Bowie listen to it. And while Bowie is listening to it, he looks over at Marvin and he smiles and he says, you know what, Marv? You can go ahead and let that air out your chest, because this record is going right on the shelf. We ain't finna put this out. This record is too political. You need to be making songs like The Supremes, like Reflections, doo-wop, bebop songs. When people listen to music, they need to listen to free their mind, to smile, to have fun, not to get dragged down and bogged down into all this crap that's going on. But to Bowie's surprise, this time Marvin stood his ground, and he basically told him, well, shoot, I guess I won't be recording now another song then. And Bowie was like, you ain't gonna do what? Oh yeah, you gonna record another song? And Marvin was like, no, I am not. I am tired of doing all these bebop songs that don't have any meaning. I want to do something with feeling. I want more creative control. If I can't do that, I'm not gonna do anything at all. So Bowie is like, and he finally lets Marvin release the song, but he tells him, if you release this song and you lose your crossover audience, meaning white audience, you are finished. And Marvin was like, okay, it's cool, I understand. And then he released the Kraken, baby. And that's exactly what it was. What's Going On was the Kraken, because it was cracking up those charts at the speed of light. By that next month, Marvin had his second #1 song, and it stayed at #1 for 5 weeks. And so Bowie is like, okay, but you know, that's the R&B charts. Of course, black folks gonna like it. And then, honey, he checked the Billboard charts, and it was #2. Now what you got to say, Bowie? And Bowie ain't had nothing to say, baby. Believe me, he was hush mouth, sitting there looking crazy, but it was okay though, because his bank account was looking even crazier. So after Marvin had came through on the winning end of his ultimatum, he was given permission to release the full album that he had creative control on. And this album was his first million seller. And it had Mercy Mercy Me on it, What's Going On, Inner City Blues. It shot up to the top. Now, since we've touched a bit on Marvin's music, let's get back to his personal life. By this time, his relationship and marriage with Anna Gordy Gaye was in the skids. And although he was holding out on cheating on her at first, by now, child, he had women far and wide. And then in 1972, Marvin filed for legal separation from Anna. And then in 1973, 34-year-old Marvin met 17-year-old Janice Hunter. And since many of you don't really know her by Janice Hunter, I'm just gonna call her Jan Gaye. And I'd like to go ahead and put in right here that this whole video from beginning to the end is pure speculation and it's alleged. Okay, now I didn't read Jan Gaye's books or any book on this, so I may be wrong about their meeting and their first encounter, but I do remember seeing somewhere that Jan walked into the studio, and this was not a Motown studio, this was another studio, a friend's studio or something like that, but Jan walks into the studio. Marvin Gaye is smitten. I mean, he's like a schoolboy. He is just overtaken by her beauty, and he introduces himself and he flirts with her, and she flirts right back like a grown woman. Like they say, she bending over in front of his face, you know, he hugged up all on her, and some rumors say that they got it on right there in that studio the first day they met. But see, this right here, them getting it on so quickly, really set the stage and the path for the rest of their relationship. Meeting Jan and having this experience with her gave Marvin a deep, deep high. It's like he was in the clouds. It awakened something rabid, something very primal, something very passionate inside of him. He was so awakened and so exhilarated by her youth, her beauty, everything that she came with, that he quickly started writing the song, Let's Get It On. Like, that's how much she awakened him. He wrote the song, Let's Get It On. He was so excited about having this girl in his life. And that was the good side about them getting together and meeting up. But there was a bad side to Jan giving herself so quickly to him. Once Marvin saw how overly willing she was to do what he wanted her to do, how open she was to just sleep with him in the studio, he knew that she would do anything to meet his demands. And this opened the door to some very deep, dark, and nasty, ugly sexual perversions that lied within Marvin. But Jan did not see this at the time. Of course not. Ain't no man gonna show his face that early. So after one date they had where they went out to eat, she moved in with him. And this happened so fast because she was infatuated with him, and he was an older man. He knew what to say. And also her mother, they said, was encouraging this. A lot of folks said that her mama pimped her out pretty much. Maybe she thought that he was gonna take care of her daughter. She thought wrong. You see, what folks didn't know is that Marvin had dealt with and experienced overt but hidden hypersexuality from two people in his life. The first one was his feminine acting father, who confused Marvin but also aroused a type of feminine sexual energy inside of him. And the second person was the person that nobody suspected. Even to this day, nobody suspects. And that was his wife, Anna Gordy Gaye. Yes, ma'am. It is rumored that Anna Gordy was full of sexual perversion herself, and she took on a more masculine form in the bedroom. Now, she didn't sleep with women as far as I know, but she did show Marvin what it felt like to be pleased in every aspect. I mean, every nook and cranny and corner of his body. Baby, they said she turned him out in the worst way, and by all accounts made him feel like a little girl. I mean, she just knew so much. She knew how to touch him and kiss him, and it would make his whole body quiver. She knew places that he didn't know existed, that once she got a hold of, it would make him shoot very, very quickly. And I know some of y'all, especially some of y'all men out there, are probably like, well, hey, you know, that kind of sounds like the life. And it probably would have been, but the way she did it in such a dominating way made Marvin feel very, very vulnerable. And of course, something this good, Marvin had to tell somebody about it, of course. And to be honest with you, I read that he told his mama about it. But anyways, let me tell you about it. So from what I read, from what Marvin told people, he felt like he was losing himself in pleasure, in lust, in fear. And then he also said that there was this one trick that she did with her body that just, oh my gosh. I mean, baby, they said that Marvin said it was a mean trick, baby. I don't know, but whatever she did with her body, it is said that Marvin said he would just straight lose control. Like he would start shaking and then he would just shoot, like lose control and shoot like a rocket, and the session would be over with like this. I ain't gonna lie, I want to know what this trick was. I mean, what did this woman do with her body? Like, I need to know. For research purposes. Oh, y'all so nasty. Girl, go on. Marvin was so enamored by this body trick that his mother told somebody, that's what I'm saying, he talked to his mama about it, y'all, because his mother told, I think, a writer or a reporter or something, that he was so enamored by it that he taught Jan this trick. And it said that she did learn it, but she was never as good as Anna was with it. Anyway, when you put all of this together, the things with his father, the things with Anna, the things that he has going on with himself, it makes Marvin become very confused and also repelled, but also addicted to sex. So it's like one big ball of mess, one big ball of confusion. And we're talking about confused about sex, period. His sexual identity, his fantasies, like he just could not get his thoughts and everything together, and his wants and just everything. And all of this made it very, very bad for Jan Gaye. So Marvin has all this craziness going on, and then soon cocaine has entered the chat along with weed, drinking, and PCP. And before Jan knows it, she is a sex slave to Marvin. She has to fulfill his every need at every turn. If she fails to live up to his desire or satiate his appetite, she will be beat. And here comes another mental problem, another mental saga. Jan can never live up to this because she is a fantasy herself. Woo! Honey, I know y'all, this is getting weird, deep, and crazy, but we here for the scandal, right? Marvin Gaye does not look at Jan as an equal. He barely even looks at her as a human with real feelings. She is a doll, almost like a sex toy. She is a fantasy to him. He loved her youth, her beautiful skin, her long hair, her tight little pert body. But then, what's this? She got her own mind? She telling me what she don't want to do? She's got feelings? Nah, Jan, you're not here for that. You're not here for you to be you. You are here to do what I tell you to do. You're here to do what I want you to do. You're here to be my fantasy. You ain't supposed to be coming with all these emotions and stuff like that. You shut up and you please me. And I know y'all, I know I'm going deep, but I'm just telling you the psychology of how he looked at her. And believe me, y'all kept on saying, Marvin Gaye in the comments. Baby, I was doing some deep research, honey. He even told David Ritz, an autobiographer to all these celebs, that he liked to see his women serving him. And in Jan's case, serving me meant feeding my fantasies, feeding my evil fantasies. That is what she was there for. Child, all of this sexual contact and sexual proclivities, of course, led to a child. And on September the 4th, 1974, Nona Gaye was born. And then 14 months later, Frankie Gaye was born. And by 1975, not only is Marvin doing all these drugs, Jan is now hooked on drugs. Their whole life now consists of drugs and fighting and orgies. And at first, it's just orgies with unknown people. And this is cool at first. But soon, Marvin's fantasy is not fulfilled. You know, this is not enough. So now he starts forcing Jan to sleep with other male singers, men that are basically his competitors in the music field. It is said that he made her sleep with Frankie Beverly while he watched, drank, smoked weed, and pleasured himself. It is also said that he sent Jan out to dinner with Teddy Pendergrass while he sat in his car outside of the restaurant close to tears. And I had no idea about the Gays' relationship when I shot the Teddy Pendergrass video. If I did, my response to this situation would have been much different. Anyways, after the dinner, he makes her go home and sleep with Teddy. And then after she does that, she comes home and then he starts questioning her. He wants to know about her night with Teddy. He wants to know, what went on. And when she's kind of sad and like not really forthcoming with details, he starts to beat on her. And he also starts accusing her, yeah, I told you to do it, but you wanted to do it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I might have forced you. I might have told you to do it, but you wanted to do it. Tell the truth, Jan. Didn't you want to do it on the inside? Ain't you turned on by his deep voice? And this is because Marvin Gaye had an insecurity about any male that had a deeper voice than him. He was upset about that. He had an insecurity. So he's accusing her, ain't you turned on like them other women? And this is stuff that was his idea. He's making her do this. Sending his wife to cheat on him because he's torturing himself. It all boils down to him torturing himself. He was always punishing himself for something. He didn't feel like he deserved anything good. He didn't deserve Jan. He didn't deserve somebody so beautiful, so innocent. So, let me punish myself by getting her to sleep with men that she truly deserved, because I don't deserve her. You know what I mean? But then getting mad and sad about it and then wanting to beat her up and punish her because he punished himself. So Marvin is tortured about Jan. He's also heavily on these drugs. And that same joy and the spruce up of his testosterone when he made Let's Get It On, now he's making another song about her. And this song is coming from a more mental, tortured place of, how he wants Jan. He wants her, but he knows really and truly that he is not good enough for her. So he feels like she don't really want him. And that is that song, I want you to want me too, just like I want you. They said that this came from a really painful, insecure place within Marvin Gaye. He just didn't feel like he was worthy enough for Jan. Child, I don't know, child. On March 17th, 1977, Marvin Gaye and Anna Gordy Gaye officially divorced. And he married Jan Gaye officially in October of 1977 in New Orleans. And quite frankly, I'm pretty sure that Jan by this time was doing drugs every hour on the hour because, God dang it, she's really living with a mentally sick man. But finally, she had enough. She filed for legal separation in 1979, and they divorced officially in February of 1981. And after divorcing Jan and having a big blow up at Motown because they released music without his permission or without his knowledge, he basically told Motown, I'm never going to record for you guys again. And then I guess he was escaping those tax problems that I mentioned before, and he left the United States and he went to live on an island in Maui. And while he was there, he sometimes lived in his van, and then he sometimes lived in like this small little studio apartment. And the people that visited him and recorded notes from their meetings with him and things like that said that this is the only real time that he finally showed his true self. And it was a mess. People wanted him to put the mask back on because what they saw was complete degradation. Degradation to Marvin himself and degradation to women in general. And what he's doing, what they see when they go over there is Marvin wearing like women underwear, and he's in a robe, all right, a woman's robe. And then he's sitting in the house and he's pleasuring himself all day, okay? And he's also drawing these pictures of these women in bondage, like they're in torture states. You know what I'm saying? He's drawing with the gags in their mouth, with the hands tied behind them, with cuts on them, just total crazy, nasty stuff. And he actually told, I think it was still David Ritz, he told him that, he wasn't gay, he didn't feel gay, but he liked to dress like this. He liked to feel like this. He liked his clothes to be soft, but he did not have any attraction to men. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like I saw somebody say in a comment on the Ray Charles video, I'm not sure what their name was, but they kind of said the sins of their father. Looks like it was repeated in Ray. That kind of seems like what it is with Marvin Gaye and his dad. It just seems like that perversion or that problem, that mental sexual confusion just got passed down from his father, and for some reason the women were the one, I don't know. But whatever the case, yes, he would watch porn all day, draw those degrading pictures of women, and then dress like that and smoke and drink and get high and pleasure himself like all day. This is what his life consisted of all day, just straight nastiness. And I hated to say all that because the thing is that at this point in time, Marvin is very depressed, and Marvin himself feels like he's sick in the head. He also feels like he's unloved and that he'll never be loved and that he'll never do anybody any good. So he tries to get an ounce of cocaine, I think the note says, and sniff it all at once or just sniff it as fast as he can, and he tries to commit suicide that way. And of course, that suicide does not work. Marvin finally pulls himself together and he travels back to the US. And he ends up making another album, and this time it's with Columbia. And the single that they put out becomes a full-blown smash hit once again, and that single is Sexual Healing. He was back at the top of the charts for one of the very last times, or for the very last time, and that was in 1983, and then 1984 hit. And when it hits, he is back to being very lonely and very depressed. And what happens when he's lonely and depressed? He makes self-destructive choices. So he chose to move back in with his parents, and I don't care what none of y'all say, this had to be a self-destructive choice, because if you look at the past events that I told you about, all of those choices he always made when he got down and out and sad and depressed. And his relationship with his parents was not no good, you know what I'm saying? And he says that he wanted to look after his parents, but if I'm to understand correctly, his siblings were still living with his parents, or living around and near his parents, so they could have looked out for them. It has nothing to do with that. Marvin knows that it's gonna be a pot boiling over. He knows, he's intuitive. I don't care. This man is intuitive. He's a lot like Phyllis Hyman. A lot like Phyllis Hyman. They have those emotions, those feelings. They're very intuitive. They know how to throw people off. They know how to do all this, but they know what they're about to do. You know what I'm saying? And as soon as he moves in with them, the problems start. Marvin starts causing all type of problems. Marvin starts acting like a macho man. And he did buy his parents that house, but child, you know his daddy wasn't standing for that. His daddy didn't care who bought the house. He was the man of that house, and he still had his ground rules, and Marvin knew that, but he still came into this house being like, you know, well, I'm a grown man too, you know what I'm saying? You don't talk to me that way. And honestly, a rumor, one that I picked up on, I don't know if I believe it or not, but let me tell y'all though, they said that Marvin was beating up on his daddy, and he was beating up on his mama. Child, I don't know if I believe it. I really don't, because I hate to see that and I hate to think that, but it is possible that in his mental state, with all of this mess going on, it is very possible that he was jumping on his mother and his father. And the last problem he ever faced with his parents happened on April 1st, 1984. There's so many different stories and different versions of the stories of what happened, but the one that I've heard most through my life is that Marvin's dad was jumping on his mother. Okay, he was beating up his mother, and Marvin came through and was like, you're not gonna be hitting on my mama. And he pushed his dad, or he hit his daddy, and his daddy was like, oh, bro, wait a minute. Boy, you done lost your mind. That's probably a moment that he had been waiting for all his life, is for Marvin to put hands on him, or put the hands on him, so he can go grab that gun and shoot him. And that's exactly what he did. And he shot him twice, once in the chest, piercing his heart, and once in the shoulder. And a rumor also says that when Marvin was laying out and he was dying, his brother Frankie ran over to him, and Marvin told him, like, you know, basically like, this is what I wanted, man. You know, I was not strong enough to do it myself, insinuating that Marvin wanted to die, but he was not strong enough to commit suicide. I guess he was too scared or whatnot. You know what I mean? But then get this though, get this. This is one of the biggest rumors I ever heard. I didn't know this. Apparently Rick James wrote a book, and he said in his book that Marvin's family told him that Frankie Gaye was the one that pulled the trigger on Marvin. The brother said that he killed Marvin. And child, Rick James, it's very possible though that he could have been high when them folks was telling him that, and he could have got the names mixed up. Like, you know, and I ain't trying to be funny, and I'm not trying to put Rick James down, but let's just be honest. Rick James did a lot of stuff. He was into a lot of drugs. And then the saddest, most crazy thing of all is that this happened a day before Marvin's birthday. Like, his birthday was on April the 2nd. He died on April the 1st. And if he had lived, he would have been 45 years old the next day. So that is the main story of the old Hollywood scandalous tale on the life of Marvin Gaye. I hope you guys did enjoy it, but I need to go ahead and add a few more pieces of gossip, honey. Supposedly in the 1960s, Marvin Gaye dated Mary Wells as well as Kim Weston, which would most likely mean he possibly cheated on his wife with these ladies. And he was even involved with a British socialite, Lady Edith Foxwell. And I think in like 1982, she was even pregnant with his child, but he was always complaining about the turmoil that was going on with his family, and that stressed her out, and she had a miscarriage. There is also a rumor that Marvin Gaye was raped by either an uncle or an older cousin or something when he was like a preteen or right at a teenager. They said that I guess somebody on his father's side raped him. Also, after and before Marvin passed, Jan Gaye was flat broke. She was on welfare raising those two children. And rumor has it that Jan Gaye spent almost the rest of her life, even though she's still alive, she spent a big majority of her life trying to kick those drugs that she got hooked on when she messed with Marvin. But the very sad part about it is their daughter, Nona Gaye, she grew up, she had a career that she was trying to do in film, and I think she might have been in a couple of TV shows or maybe even a couple of movies doing very well, and then she got hooked on drugs. I think she got hooked on crack. And it is said that when her mother got clean, she resented her mother because she was so used to her mother being her partner for when they got high, you know, like her home girl. She didn't understand, like, mama, why are you trying to get clean? Okay, y'all, and now we are down to the very last rumor, and this is the biggest, wildest, craziest rumor of all. Apparently, at one point in time, Marvin Gaye was suspected to be a serial killer. I think some articles came out a few years ago. I don't know exactly how many years ago, but they came out and they said in the 50s, there were a string of murders apparently around where Marvin Gaye grew up, and they felt like a black teenager was responsible for the murders, okay? And they said he was still committing murders up until he started singing, but then when the police got word of it and they started searching, like, the murders stopped. And they said that, you know, they suspected it to be Marvin, but they didn't want to go after him because he had powerful people behind him. They were paying people off. You know, they were saying you're not going to mess up his name. So they didn't go after him. But they also said, like, when he got bigger in the 70s, he got on drugs, okay, really, really bad. And they said that he would hire prostitutes and he would beat these prostitutes up very badly. And sometimes he would beat them so bad that they would die. Yeah, like, you know, I had seen a few people mention it in the comments, and I had told the people, you know, I'm gonna research that, but I didn't know I was really gonna find that. Like, apparently people really suspected it to be Marvin Gaye, a serial killer. Lord, it ain't no telling what we gonna dig up and find out on this channel, is it? Do y'all be having as much fun as I do? Because I have fun with you guys. Anyways, y'all, I love y'all so much. Go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to this video. Shoot a thumbs up. I said like, I don't know. Comment, tell me how y'all feel. I love y'all so much. I'll see you next time.